This next part is something that has saved me a ton of time in painting. I know I've heard a lot of people like in college, a lot of professors say organize your files, make sure it's all organized. And at first I was like, yeah, whatever. But it saves you so much time organizing. And if you separate each piece, you're able to make everything more modular. So let's say you draw a person with a hat and you don't want the hat on anymore, you can take it off, things like that, or you can move a person over in a scene with by keeping them in groups. So let's create a new folder here. So I'm going to click the new folder button, and I'm going to call it Cloud, CLOUD, and then I'm going to make a, a layer in it, call it 1. Okay, so now if you hit the letter P, it'll bring up your pen tool. And I'm going to get the darker color I want to use for the cloud. So I'm going to pick like something like this. There we go. It's a gray blue. And first, of course, if you hit left, you're going to get a point that shows up. If you hold shift, it'll make a straight line. And then if you click somewhere else, you're going to get another line. And if you hold it and drag, it'll create a curve. And then within this curve, it'll fill it in. So there we go. We got the start of a vector shape. So if you hold Control, you'll see a little white arrow pop up like that, and then you can click on the handler and move it over. If you click on Alt over the end of a handler, it'll break it. And if you hold Control on the end of a handler, well, let's do it on this one. It'll bend it. It'll bend the shape. So I'm going to keep clicking here. Bend and move, drag. There we go. I'm going to pull this shape out. Remember, I got to break the handler and then pull, create a curve here, create another curve by dragging it down here. And I'm holding Control right now to move the point. I'm going to hold Control again to move this point in. See, it bends up the other side. See how it's like wobbling? There we go. That keeps a smooth curve. I'll hold Control again, move it over. I'm just trying to find a shape for a cloud that I like. The pen tool was super annoying to me when I first started using it, but now I've grown to love it. I use it for everything. Okay. Almost got a cloud shape. Kind of designing on the fly here. And this should do it. This part's a little sharp, so I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to hold Control on this part, move it. Hold Control on this part. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'm holding Control again. There, got a cloud. So with this cloud, now here's the thing I'm telling you that will save you a ton of time. There are some downfalls to this, but I'll explain that in a minute. So if you go over to your cloud shape over here, you see that little outline in the thumbnail? Well, you're going to hold Control and click that little thumbnail. And make sure that this vector layer is inside the cloud folder. Now while that's selected, left click on the cloud folder, make sure it's still selected, still have the marching ants. And we're going to go over to this button right here. It's got a circle inside a dark square, and that's a quick mask button. So what you do is click that, and you'll see this little thumbnail pop up where it's black around a white cloud. So from there, you want to create another layer above 1. I'm going to call it 2. All right. Now, if I go on layer 2 and pick a higher I'm just going to pick a little bit higher value of a color, and I scribble on it. Let's grab our smooth brush. I'm going to turn my flow down to around 36%. There we go. And just start calling. Watch, I cannot go outside of the cloud shape. So what that does is allows you to not worry about going outside of the lines, and it saves a ton of time when it comes to cleanup. So I'm going to color this in, kind of like do my highlight colors. And again, I apologize that the colors are not turning out as smoothly as I'm seeing them on screen here. It's a video recording device issue, which I'm working on. Another thing you can do is hit B and pull up your brushes here. I kind of want to use a slight fuzzy brush here, so I'm going to grab this one right here and just like we did on the other one, I'm going to adjust the spacing on it. Go to brush tip shape and turn spacing down to about 7% or so, and then hit this down arrow and say, where is the new brush preset, and hit OK. So back to the drawing. Pull up my brushes. I got that new brush. So I want to smooth things out. I use this little airbrush. Now, going back to that method I was telling you about with the moving the selector tool. So we got a square right now. Hit Shift M, and you get a circle, right? So when you start to drag the circle, hold space, and you can drag it and let go of space, and you can move this over and do something like that. So what I'm going to do is clean up these edges. So now I have the bottom part of the cloud selected. I want to select the inverse of that, so I hit Control Shift I. And what that does, you can see the marching ants are all around the screen because I selected the inverse of it. So I'm going to hit E for erase and go get my fuzzy brush there. And I'm just going to clean up the edges around that thing. And you can see I have a much, oops, I don't know what happened. Control D. There we go. I have a much cleaner line. I'm going to fill out some more of these highlights here real quick. So there we go. Real smooth buildup. I'm going to add a little bit of a overall kind of gradient, just like a light touch on it. It's getting to where I like it. And you know, just as important as adding color, you want to subtract color too. So the eraser is a great brush as well. There we go. Cool. And then from this point, you know, one thing to help your colors pop, I'm going to add another layer on top, and I'm going to call it AMB for ambient. A lot of things in nature contain multiple light sources. You know, if it's not from the sun, it could be from the light that's bouncing off the ground, and it's called the ambient light. So what I'm going to do is pick out another color to help this thing pop. So maybe there's a city underneath, and it's like a polluted city. So I'm going to get like a green, really high saturated light green, and just get a fuzzy brush, the one I made here, and just kind of touch the bottom of this thing. And you know, again, once you go over it, then you can knock out the parts you don't want. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit. And then you can also get that selector out and pick out other surfaces. I'm holding space to move it. Let go of space. And I just color in a little bit on the underside. So now you got that controlled edge. Hit M again. Go to this one. Hold space. Let go. Press B for brush. And then add some more green to that one. I'm going to do it to this last shape here too. So real light. So now you got this kind of polluted looking cloud. You can mess with the fill and like knock it down a little bit. And what this does is just gives it a little bit of color variation. Most objects are not monochromatic. So, you know, everything has a slight hue change throughout its entirety. So from here, I'm going to change this cloud into a different object to show a different treatment. Let's see. So I'm going to turn off the ambient. And then I got my base layer here, so I'm going to keep these, and I'm going to select this one right here and hit Control E to merge the layers. Or actually, I got to hold Shift and click these two. Hit Control E. Now they're merged. I got one piece. Turn off this ambient. Actually, I'm just going to delete it. So now I have my base cloud, right? So I'm going to go to let's see, image or Control A, select it all, and go to Image Adjustments. Hue saturation, and when you hit, let's pull my window up here, I'm going to hit colorize, so that's a monochromatic color now, and I'm going to pick a darker color. I'm going to hit pump up saturation, lower the dark lightness, maybe lower saturation a little bit lower than that. This will help out a ton with lighting. When I first figured this tool out, I used it on everything, and everything I drew for a while was super shiny and highly saturated because it's too fun to mess with. So what I'm going to call this layer is a glow layer. So I'm going to call it GLOW, and turn that layer by clicking on this drop-down menu up here. This is your, I believe, layer effects, and you want to go down to color dodge. And then you got your glow layer here. You want to double click on it, on the bar right here, and it'll bring up this window. And if you notice, there's these two check marks here. For blend clipped layers as group, and then there's a check mark for transparency shapes layer. What you want to do is turn off the transparency shapes layer. Turn that off. Press OK. So now, I'm going to hit B and go right here, go to white, and watch this. Instant glow. It's very useful in making shiny objects. So you can get a really cool looking, like for in this case, it looks kind of like a a really bright moonlight coming down on this cloud. Let me hit trim this up. This is a little too strong. You can turn your flow down on your eraser if you don't want to trim it too much. So there you go. You can slowly build up the glow on this thing. And what this is really good for is making metal, especially like chrome bars and stuff like that. I also wanted to say, before I get into the metal, I also wanted to say that the cloud mask here, you can fix the mask if you don't like the mask. So let's say I don't want it to have this tail right here, and I want to cut this tail off. You just click on the thumbnail for the mask right there, and then you're going to see you can pretty much, within the mask, you can only use desaturated colors. It's only going to let you do that. So I'm going to go to black. And the rule that I go by is black in a mask layer will turn off the light on something. White will turn the light on something. So just remember, black is darkness, white is light. So we're going to go black, and then we'll press B for brush. And then we're going to, remember, I'm on the mask layer. I'm going to just knock this thing out. Let me get a better brush, better spacing. There we go. So I knocked that out. And it's the beauty of this is that your stuff is still there underneath. It's just that it's maxed out. So, and you can also extend the mask. So if I go to white, the white for light, press OK, and then press B, and then I can extend. This is all the stuff that's hanging out underneath the mask. I'm just expanding the mask. So one thing this really helps with is that if you notice, this is the part I was saying is bad about the mask. When you mask things out like this, it normally gives you too hard of an edge. So then when I'm done doing stuff like this, what I'll do is go back into the mask layer, get like a little brush, and it's kind of dark, like blemish it, you know, so like give it maybe like a more blurred edge or something to it, you know, so it doesn't look too cut out. See how you can put that your human touch on that, you know. All right, so I'm gonna delete all this. Actually, I'm gonna save the glow layer. I'm gonna put the glow layer up there, and I'm gonna get rid of the cloud layer. What we're gonna do is a real cool, quick trick on how to make a chrome bar. So this is really useful for making metals. We're gonna create a new layer and a new folder. I'm gonna call it bar, and then create a layer labeled 1, and then I'm gonna put my glow layer above that. It's the one we made before. So on 1, I'm just going to make a rectangle shape, and let's not use white. You get a little bit of hue to it, little blue, desaturated blue. Perfect. Okay. So there's my start of the bar. I'm also going to add a top to it. So I'm going to get an ellipse tool and put an ellipse on top of it. You can hold space to move it while you're making your size. And I'm going to lighten that part up so it's the top of the bar, lights from above. Hit that. I'm also going to take that, I'm going to call that top, T-O-P. And then I'm going to duplicate that, drag it down while holding Shift. So I'm holding Control or Alt and Shift to drag it down. Perfectly right below the original one. And I'm going to drag that layer I just made, and bring it down to below the top, because it's called top copy right now. And then I'm going to double click on its color right there on this little square, and then I'm going to select the same color as the bar. So that's a cool part about vector things, is you just double click this little square and you can change the whole color of it in one color swatch click.